You know what you tell them? Say it's three types of people. It's people from around the way, it's people that's in the way, and what else? It's people that make a way, big motion.
I lost a bag and got a bigger bag. I lost a friend and got a realer friend. Thought I lost a plug, he was really just a middleman. Things just be tests, like the universe tests you with things.
Okay, team. Today I want to talk about why men are going their own way. Why a lot of men are abandoning their families or abandoning trying to date or relationships. Why community is failing and patriotism or shared social bonds are getting destroyed. It comes down to ownership. Now, I might be canceled for this video, but hear me out. If a man doesn't feel ownership in the land, in his family, in his tribe or village, he will not be inspired to accept responsibility for that thing. For instance, if I was starting a business and I wanted someone to be an A player for me, someone to be high up in the business, to be a great leader, to really help the business flourish, what would I do? I would give them a ownership role. I would give them a share of the company, right? It's the same thing in society. If you want participants, really good citizens, if you want men to overcome their lower nature and rise to truly masculine and beautiful men and leaders, you need to give them ownership, or else they're going to say fuck it. So the main impulse within most men is towards freedom. We don't want to be tied down to all of these obligations and responsibilities to our village, to the nation, to our job, to our family. Like, we just want to wander freely, right? A lot of men do. And society and cultures in the ancient world coped with this will towards freedom within men by offering them ownership, by offering them authority. And this ownership is what created citizens. And this is really important. This is what my last video is about. Bear with me if you're feeling triggered. Citizenship is when you own a long-term stake within a larger project, right? So let's say you're in a village, okay? And you own a piece of land in that village. And your kids are probably going to inherit that piece of land. And on top of that, you feel like you have great ownership of your family. You're more of the patriarch of your family. Therefore, how are you going to treat your family and how are you going to treat the land? A lot of modern people would be like, oh, he's going to abuse them and all these things. It's like, no, that's the exception to the rule. The main rule would be you would try to see that whole thing flourish. A father generally wants to see the best for their kids. A father who owns the land is going to pass it down generations, wants to see the best of that land, is probably going to build it up in some way. And on top of that, you are going to want the best for your community. You're going to go and participate in governance. You're going to try to be a good citizen to your neighbors. You're going to build community and build relationships because it's meaningful to you.
Yes,
because
sir.
You have a long-term stake in the whole, right? When you take away the man's role at the head of the family, or you take away the man's role in terms of private land ownership, right? You take away his sense of having a long-term stake in something. Therefore, his nurturing, he doesn't feel inspired to take responsibility for it because it has less meaning for him, okay? Now, I'm not trying to advocate for, maybe outdated and roles of masculinity. I'm just trying to paint a picture of human nature for people out there. Is that when people feel like they have ownership in something, they're going to take responsibility in that thing because it has meaning for them. And let's talk about this politically and geopolitically in terms of democracy versus monarchy. Man, we're going heretical in this video, aren't we? Drop a like if you like this kind of content. So the Middle Ages saw a lot of monarchies, kingdoms, and aristocracies, right? And there's been a massive wave of propaganda in the past 100 years from liberal democracy saying that the Middle Ages were all dark and kings were these conniving, greedy, fat fools who were just in it for themselves. And this is not true. You can go see Thinking West, a YouTuber's video on this. But the monarchies of the past, in general, tended to be okay, if not good. Of course, there was bad kings and bad ones, just like there's bad men, okay? But in that, the patriarch, the monarch, the king, he feels ownership for his entire kingdom, meaning that he is thinking generations ahead because he wants his kingdom to thrive. He's not going to overtax the peasants because he wants them to be more productive, to have better lives, so they multiply and increase the will to power of the entire kingdom. You see, the main instinct of life is to
See, everything he talking about, I really can't speak on, because like he says, that's what they show us, but that don't mean that's what occurred, because a lot of time history is lies. So
increase the feeling of power in life. And this is a very Nietzschean philosophy. And the feeling of power has nothing to do with control. It has everything to do with vitality, an increased feeling of life and expansiveness here on earth, a mastery of open space. And so the king is going to be thinking, a good king is thinking generations ahead. He's trying to, how can my people be more productive and live happier lives so they multiply and increase the power of the nation, right? And he's thinking this way because he wants to pass down this kingdom to his children, who he also feels to be a part of himself, right? Therefore, he has all of this meaning to lead well, to lead his family well, to lead his tribe well, to lead his kingdom well. Contrast that with a president. A president is in office for 4 to 8 years, and it's a popularity vote to get him in there. And therefore, he's not thinking generations ahead. He is thinking, how can I gain popularity in the next 4 years so that people will reelect me, right? What's he going to do? He's going to drive the nation like a rental and make decisions that might be good in the short term, but are detrimental in the long term. It's kind of like if you rent a property versus you own the property. If you own the property, you're going to cultivate the land. You're going to cultivate relationships. You're going to help it blossom, and you're going to think really far into the future, generations ahead. If you rent the land, you're not going to.
And that's one thing I do agree. When the president comes, let's say you say we're going to work on infrastructure, right? Then let's say you do that for 4 years, you built a good plan. That next president, if you don't become the president, he might go in a whole different direction, which create cobwebs here, you know what I'm saying? Potholes here. So a lot of things fall through. So it's a cycle of, okay, I'm building up in this area just for it to either cease or get torn down and rebuilt, or it's a lot of different ways where things get hindered because of that terms.
Think of a fuck. Okay, you're not going to give a shit about making it better. I'm only going to be here for 4 years. I'm going to drive it like a rental. I'm going to abuse this. I'm going to pump money into the economy. I'm going to exploit the land as much as possible to, gain prestige for myself and maybe short-term gain for the whole, but to the long-term detriment. It's kind of like using pesticides on the soil. It's going to destroy the soil health for short-term gain, right? And so it's really important, I think, for like revolutionary men and for more traditional men who are going their own way out here, is to think about the concept of ownership outside of political lines, outside of party lines. And that's the thing, is like, I'm not trying to subscribe to any dogma. I'm trying to think freely about how to create a flourishing humanity, right? So don't put me in any of your boxes out here. But what I am saying is that the more that man feels ownership in this life, ownership in his spiritual path, ownership of his family, ownership of his community, ownership of his life, the more responsibility he's going to take, the more empowered he's going to become as a man, and the better man he's going to become. Like, it's so contrary to how modern man looks at this concept. We're like, power corrupts, right? It's bullshit.
Depends on who wields the power. Depends on who wields the power.
We need ownership in order to feel inspired to overcome ourselves, to live for something larger. And the more that feminism rises, like, put man in his place, and the more that the world makes it harder and harder to own land, and
we all have a place, and we have to be in it. We have to find it too. Like, everybody has a place. It's just what it is.
The more that the world alienates us from shared social bonds, and feeling like we have a stake in the future of our village and our tribe and our nation, we're just going to go our own way. And like a lot of men are going to fall into their lowest nature, their most petty nature, because they don't have the meaning to overcome themselves for a larger project. And this is tragic. So it really comes down to ownership. A lot of people talk about this, and it sounds bad. The man should own his family. In a sense, he should. Like he should lead as a wise and loving father, take his wife's input.
Agreed, because yet again, the woman has her own insight. So you have to, and see too, if you don't trust your woman, you ain't gonna trust her insight, because sometimes her insight is correct, but you have to use your logic to, weed through that insight to see what is usable and not usable. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how with anything, with anybody, it's just one of them things. Like he said, you just have to communicate and try to find a common ground to where y'all can move forward.
And her wants and needs into account like any good leader would. This is a round table.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the day, you got to feel like you have authority, that you are the leader, right? That you have a say in your government, that you have a say in your family.
Yes, sir. Because if I say no, is no, regardless of what you may think, because you might not understand the bigger picture at hand. And yet again, as individuals, as men, we have to break stuff down sometime. We can't always just say no. And sometimes as women, you have to accept no and trust your man. It's just one of them things, hand in hand.
That you have a stake in your community. A little passionate rant there out in the forest, huh?
Look peaceful.
I go off. My name's Christian. I'm trying to spread awareness about modernity versus the ancient world and try to start men towards a new path of banding together and creating a more traditional yet forward-thinking type of community where we can thrive again. This channel is in service to high culture. Thank you for watching. You can click the link in the description below if you want to talk to me one-on-one or join my men's community where we have accountability circles, we have philosophy circles, and it's so much fun going deep with other brothers like yourself. So come talk to me one-on-one if that interests you. If not, go watch this video about citizenship. I'll see you.
I'm gonna put his link in the bio because I appreciate everybody that make content that we all can react to and give our own input to. So if you like what brother thinks, subscribe to him. But appreciate everybody. This is it.
You know what you tell them? Say it's three types of people. It's people from around the way. It's people that's in the way. And what else? It's people that make a way. Big motion.
I lost a bag and got a bigger bag. I lost a friend and got a realer friend. Thought I lost a plug, he was really just a middleman. Things just be tests, like the universe tests you with things.